Observe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 23 of the Observe and Rapport show. I'm Kyle Brennan, joined as ever by my co-host, Keith Sullivan. Keith, how we doing today?
I'm the one drinking. You shouldn't be slurring your words, pal.
Observe and Rapport show. Hard to say sometimes.
Yeah, we're coming off a pretty beefy weekend.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Beautiful one.
It sucks in your 30s.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
I know. That combo of like beer and cake and hot dogs in your stomach on a Monday or Tuesday morning, it's not great.
Yeah, I don't like how you can see the difference the next day in the mirror. You're like,
it's so quick. It's not fair.
What the fuck?
It's not fair.
I mean, like there's a line in Big Daddy where he goes, "When I was your age, I could eat whatever I wanted, didn't gain an ounce, and now I have a chocolate shake, my ass jiggles for a week." It's like I get it now.
Literally.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like my belly's gonna be jiggling all week.
I weighed myself Friday, and I weighed myself this morning, and I was 5 pounds heavier.
Yeah. Let's get into it because we were both talking about the books we're reading, and like they really do go hand in hand.
They do.
And I want to just do back and forth, just not even you go then I go. Like let's just start because it's kind of the same premise, or at least the same kind of way of looking at things.
Yeah.
So why don't you go?
I can start. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm reading a book called Think Again by Adam Grant. He's a organizational psychologist and professor at UPenn. You've probably seen him or heard him on podcasts before. He has a bunch of TED Talks. He's a really good thinker and thinks very scientifically about things. A lot of what he writes about, like his blog, is just about ways to. It's kind of like social sciences, like ways that people can interact better, whether at like organizations or sports teams or schools and education and stuff like that. So his latest book is called Think Again, and it's really about having the ability to rethink your beliefs or your ideas, right? So are you familiar with like the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No.
So the Dunning-Kruger effect is basically when you overestimate your ability to do a certain thing or have a certain skill or have a certain opinion about anything. It's really just overestimating your powers, right? So 70% of people overestimate how good of a driver they are, right? So that's like the Dunning-Kruger effect because you think you have this belief in your head that you are better than what you are.
Yeah.
Or you don't realize what the statistical average is. You're probably at or below the statistical average.
You think you're the median.
Yes.
But like it's all self. It's looking at it through your eyes, so you think you're the average.
Well, compared to the average driver, I'm probably a little
bit above that.
Yeah,
right,
you always think you're like a 7 out of 10 in any activity when you're probably
That's
more
true.
like a 5.5.
I would give
6.
myself for most things. Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to give yourself a 5.5. You don't want to give yourself a 6. You want it to say, like my knowledge of X subject, I'm probably a 7 out of 10 in that. And it's just people overestimate that. But the whole book is really about looking at things, not attaching yourself to your beliefs, and understanding why they may be silly in certain cases. So one example he uses is like he does an experiment with Yankees and Red Sox fans.
Nice.
And he tries to see if he can have each side look at the other side and sympathize with them. And he's having like all this trouble. Like he's not able to get through to people. They're just like, Yankees fans are like, the Red Sox fucking suck. And the Red Sox fans are like, Yankees fans are like the worst. And he's trying all these things where he's like, how much money would it take for you to switch allegiances, or, write something nice about a Yankees fan and see if that changes. And it wasn't working. And what he finally realized, the only thing that could get through to them was to make them realize how ridiculous it was that they have this belief. To just take them out of it for a moment and be like, imagine if you were born in New York. Like, you wouldn't be a Red Sox fan. You'd probably be a Yankees fan and you'd hate the Red Sox, right? Isn't that kind of ridiculous to think that? And like,
to think you're right just because you were born in this city?
Yeah, and then they use the Jerry Seinfeld joke, which is like, you're rooting for the T-shirt, not the team. All the players are different. Like when you started watching when you were 6 versus now, it's completely different players, completely different staff. No one is the same. You're just rooting for the T-shirt that they're wearing.
Right.
He realized that the only way to get through to someone to change their belief was just to make them realize it's a little bit arbitrary. So I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah,
It wasn't, you can't attack their beliefs. You can't attack the other side or try to make them sympathize or change how they feel. You can just say, isn't it a little weird that, you have this belief about players who worked so hard to get to this stage, and regardless of what team, they didn't decide who they got drafted by or where they went. And then they're like, yeah, I guess that is a little crazy. So that was an interesting one. But he has a ton of different examples. He talks about Daryl Davis.
Yeah.
The black guy who became friends with like KKK members.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool examples. But
yeah.
Well,
that's a great way of going about the whole world and like looking at anything. Like, it's really just about perspective. It's just about how you grew up or where you're from or how you were taught to look at the world. No one's really right or wrong. It's just a differing opinion depending on perspective. So
yeah, and David Brooks, the other book I read recently, How to Know a Person, he says one of the best ways is to just listen to them in a different way as opposed to attacking their political beliefs because they're different than yours, asking them, well, how did you come to believe that? And just being curious about it versus automatically judging or assuming they have a certain...
What's interesting about the political thing, because I've had a lot of political debates with people over the years, like especially at work and whatever, and like I realized like very shortly after starting all that, like it's just no one's ever gonna say, "Oh, I was wrong. I've been wrong this whole time. You're right. Your belief system is the right one. I'm gonna change now." Like that's not how it works. So it's like you start to wonder, like, is this a waste of time? Because ultimately, we're not the same person. We don't have the same experiences. We're not from the same place. We don't have the same parents. Like, all you can do is argue the facts. But then, you can say, yeah, but, you can twist reality into, you can word things a certain way to make it seem like what you're saying is right or wrong. And like, so it's kind of like really an actual problem, like a really almost unsolvable problem when two people are, that divided on something. You almost like can't, even if you're both talking so much logical sense, it won't ever change what you've seen or where you're from.
No political conversation ends with, "Oh, I never thought of it that way."
Yeah, but think again, meaning you're only right because you think you're right. Like you're not right on anything that you believe. It's just what you think because of X, Y, and Z. Doesn't mean it's true 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically what it comes down to.
Yep. So what's your book about?
Well, it's way more deep version of that. So before I begin, though, I got to say, I told you this before, but like, I don't think that this book is 100% facts about reality. It's just a book. It's a very thought-provoking book. I'm only saying that because I'm getting shadow banned. I'm getting audio removed from my clips.
Controversial project.
I mean, like TikTok just completely deleted the last reel about COVID-19 and like the satanic control or whatever. And it's like, I never said like this is, how I feel and believe. We're reading a book. This is the thing. Anyway, and I will also preface it by saying that this guy who a lot of the facts and stuff are referenced to or they're attributed to this knowledge, that guy, his name is Zecharia Sitchin. He was a historian, and they call him a pseudoscientist, who died in like 2010, very active during the 70s and 80s. He has a lot of critics, this guy, people who have gone to different schools, saw the world through different eyes, think he's a complete hack, right? But
what's the book called?
So the book is called, I just wanted to preface, So the book is called The Slave Species of the Gods.
Sounds like a book that Keith Sullivan
would read. And it's actually a very popular book. It's not like it's been talked about on a million podcasts. It's not like someone I found in a ditch on Google.
The Slave City of the Gods?
No, the slave species of the gods. And by the way, spoiler alert, we're the slave species, human beings. So
who's the author? Sorry.
So Mike Tellinger. Yeah, Mike Tellinger. So the book is about the ancient Sumerians. The ancient Sumerians were an ancient group of people from Sumer, which was an ancient region in the southernmost part of Mesopotamia.
It's considered like the first civilization.
Yes, they're considered the very first, highly advanced civilization from the southernmost part of Mesopotamia, which later became Babylonia and what is now known today as Iraq. And they came up with so many firsts, like the wheelbarrow, and they had sandals, they had beer, they had courts, they had schools, they had
Currency and language,
tools,
yeah.
harpoons, everything. But their arguably biggest or most influential on the whole world as far as societies go, development was something called how am I forgetting it now? It's a wedge-based writing system. Cuneiform, excuse me. Cuneiform.
Yeah. You learned about that in like 8th
Yeah.
grade.
I remember I was like, oh yeah, cuneiform. I remember learning about that, but it's basically just like, it looks like a weird kind of pencil. It's a pencil and it's got a strange looking wedge tip, and you press shapes into wet clay and then it hardens. This is how they kept records of their, like, they kept administrative records. They had receipts, like financial transactional stuff. They wrote down their literature. They wrote down their history, and it's really impressive shit. And it's like even weird to call it impressive because they were by no means primitive, like compared to us even. Like they had most things that we have, like I just listed off. So anyway, these people were also, so this guy, Zechariah Sitchin, found a bunch of tablets from the ancient Sumerians. And when he deciphered them or translated them, whatever you want to call it, there's all this talk about these people called the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki were apparently aliens from another planet called, what is it called? Nibiru? Nibiru, yeah.
Was it that the Sumerians came up with this?
So there's writings about the Anunnaki in these tablets.
Okay.
It's kind of broken apart, right? It's not like a big list of like a whole story, but they're referenced a lot, and they refer to them as the gods. They refer to them as, I think the Anunnaki translates in Sumerian to people from the sky. That's what they called them. And so that's the preface of the book. But let me just list off a few more things that kind of make it why this is even a theory at all that's being taken slightly seriously on where human beings came from. Turns out gold, and I never really knew this, gold is kind of useless, right? Like it's not, it's very soft. Like it's easily breakable. Like you can't really build something out of it. You could easily dent. You can't make a weapon out of gold, for example, because it will just break. It's not very conductive. Silver, for example, is 17 times more conductive as far as like electrical charge is concerned than gold is. It doesn't really seem to have any useful properties to it. Like why would anybody, especially from back in the day, want gold? Why? It's shiny? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that.
You know what I mean? Like, really, why is it
widely accepted across the globe?
Right. Like, why do all people seem to think that gold has this value? Mm-hmm. Why? There's nothing about it that's special, really. It is rare, cosmically speaking. Earth has a lot of gold, but it's not really found in the universe, really. That's kind of interesting. And also, we have a kind of biological attachment to gold in that when you look at gold, your pupils will dilate. You could say that, yeah, that's because it's shiny and it's pretty, but like, what the hell is that all about? Like, why would we have an almost like genetic response to gold? And ever since recorded history, since the cradle of humanity, it goes back that gold is king. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. All the kings hoard all the gold. Slaves dig up gold and give it to the king. Like,
the golden
why?
Rule and the golden
rule, the
yeah.
golden calf. It's this widely human thing that gold is. It's just like this, whoever has it is the top.
The gold medal.
Right, the gold medal, the bet, whatever. Anyway, the Anunnaki, apparently their home planet, Nibiru, I think that's how you say it, Nibiru, was in trouble. Its atmosphere was heating up. And gold, having said all those things that it's not useful for, it does have some properties that are kind of unique in that gold will reflect 99% of infrared rays. So it will reflect 99% of any heat or radiation that comes at it. It won't absorb it. It will completely reflect it. And gold also, if you take like a little tiny cube of gold, you can flatten that out to cover this whole room on the floor. So you can flatten it out. For some, it's got this weird kind of property where, I think a 20 ounce piece of gold can be spread into an 8-mile long wire of gold. Oh wow! Like very interesting. It can be these really fine, tiny things.
Yeah, there's a word for it. It's not.
Yeah, I forget the word.
What you're talking about.
But spreadable. I don't know. But also it doesn't oxidize. It doesn't interact with oxygen or water. Like,
so is the theory that these Anunnaki aliens planted gold on
No, the theory is that they needed gold and didn't have any, and they knew that Earth had it, right? So they came here because they wanted to put it in their atmosphere. They wanted to scatter it through their atmosphere.
They're using
to
us as the miners.
to reflect the sun's heat and radiation to save their atmosphere and planet, and they were using us as slaves to dig it up. Now, this is the thing, though, is apparently they came here 500,000 years ago. That's what it said in the text anyway, 430,000 years ago. And the theory is they created human beings from Homo erectus, which is another hominid species, by joining together their genetics, their DNA, and the Homo erectus DNA to create the Homo sapien, which they somehow in a lab could have put this kind of like almost intrinsic characteristic in us that we want gold. We want to find gold. We were attracted to gold. We'll find it somehow.
Theory, yeah.
The shining, like when you see a piece of glowing yellow on the ground, you'll immediately look at it.
Yeah.
And you don't even know why what the hell am I going to do with a nugget of gold? Like, I mean, well, now I can sell it, but like again, why is the economy based on this shit? Why is it always attributed to the gods? Like they're statues made of gold.
Yeah.
Like what is that all about? Why of all things, So the thinking is that they created human beings to mine gold for them. We're the slave species of the gods.
Wow.
So
that's, yeah, I mean, this is what you talk about where this sounds like a
ridiculous
a theory that's a theory that immediately is going to be, looked at as absurd and like not because it's one of those where you don't necessarily have like
proof
of it.
I can't show you a video of the Anunnaki
so
doing this.
It's always going to seem flawed and stupid and hokey. But it is one of those things that Adam Grant talks about, which is like, well, why are we so firm in our beliefs that gold is just like a naturally occurring substance on the earth? And we have a very rational explanation for why it's considered the standard, use of value currency on the planet, because it's rare, but it's not too rare, and it's durable, and it can easily be transported, and all these like rational reasons.
Yeah.
And I think what Adam Grant is trying to say is, well, at least try to entertain the idea, poke holes in it, of course.
Yeah.
And think through it rationally, but then also leave a little bit of room for doubt and like curiosity. And because who's the guy who says, science allows for one miracle? Right?
Exactly.
The Big Bang.
Right.
So it's like, well, why do we only have one miracle that we allow in science?
And the miracle would be the Anunnaki, in that if you're talking about evolutionary biology, there's a 2 million year gap. And this isn't like Tucker Carlson on Rogan saying that evolution makes no sense because there's no fossil record, which by the way kind of has a point, but there are fossil records that show like the transitional animals, by the way, between like birds and dinosaurs. There is stuff like that, but not necessarily for human beings. So he's not 100% wrong. But there is even like the most bureaucratic college going Harvard student, whatever, will say there is a 2 million year gap between our brain sizes,
the doubling of
the brain, and that's the stoned ape theory. Mushrooms contributed to our outpouring of knowledge about cosmic universe, looking up at the sky for the first time. But this 2 million year gap, if we really could never find the answer to it, that scientific saying about allowing for one miracle could be that the aliens came down and then they just created us, and then all of a sudden there's like human beings here with double the brain size, brain capacity.
Yeah, and you could also say like all of those ancient tribes across continents, so Africa, Asia, Mesopotamia, the Americas, all had an obsession with the stars, right? Like they built pyramids and they built structures that aligned with the stars.
Yep, they point right at them.
Yeah, and they're all very similar, yet they had no sense of communication. But you know what is another thing too? And I was just thinking about this. I don't remember the name of the study or who did it, but I remember reading about this study that they did with rats. And they claim it could also be true for humans.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
They have rats, they teach them a skill in a lab in the US, and like 5 months later, the rats in Japan are doing that same exact thing. That like they learned it through some electrical property.
It's
it's like electromagnetic
something.
Yes.
But
like I don't know where I was going with that.
But all the critiques of that study, which is real, are that's just bullshit. That could never be real. That's just a coincidence, of course. But it's like, of course. But like, how many times in history? And didn't this guy you mentioned in the book when we were in the kitchen, like every time in history where someone's claiming that something's to be the case, there's always 20 people saying that guy's completely wrong. He's a pseudoscientist.
Galileo, Copernicus.
You know, they've killed them in the past for saying certain things, and it turns out 100 years later they were totally right. Yeah. Right, and that happens like every time.
Pretty much every groundbreaking scientific truth
right.
was, you know, I mean, what's the Men in Black quote that you said the other day?
Oh man, I'll say it again.
It's like imagine what you'll know tomorrow,
right.
because you always know like that the Earth is round. You know that Sumerians were the first civilization. You know that human beings evolved from chimpanzees because we're 98.7% as similar to them genetically, and like all these things. And it's like science is there's never a scientific fact almost ever.
Things change.
Even gravity is being questioned, and even like things that we know as basic arithmetic can constantly come under question. There's no laws. There's no universal truths. Yeah. And you can accept maybe some because they have yet to be disproven and they seem pretty rational in the world that we exist in, but you always have to leave that 20% of doubt in your head that maybe everything we have known is complete bullshit. And we have to be willing as a species, as individuals, to look at things critically and understand that maybe this person that everyone's calling a goon is potentially onto something, even though he might not be 100% right.
Right, exactly.
He might be onto something that's going to, you know, peel a layer back and have us rethink everything.
Yeah, and by the way, all the critics of him, I looked into the critiques, and it's the same thing as when you're on Instagram and you see a post and it says, warning, fact checkers say this is false. And then it says CY. You ever click CY?
Yeah, it gives you like no information.
The reason is fact checkers say this is false. Right. And I'm like, right, but why?
And who are the fact checkers?
And who are they? Yeah. And what do they know? Like, what's the reason why this is false? Like, it's the same thing with him. It's like they would say, well, the way he deciphers the text is he's not 100% wrong, but he's saying the information in a certain way which makes him seem right. And it's like, that's what everyone does. Yeah. That's how you formulate your own ideas and opinions about things.
I mean, every pioneer in any industry, even like corporate industries, like tech, every pioneer came along with an idea where everyone was like, what? Like, you're fucking crazy. Yeah, right. Like Musk and Jobs and all these guys.
Tesla.
Come along and you're like, no, that'll never work. Like, no one's going to want a touch screen where they have to type, where they can't feel the keyboard. Like, that's crazy. Why would anyone want that? He talks about that, Adam Grant, in the book about BlackBerry and like their inability to rethink and maybe think that they were like, hey, we're the number one cell phone on the planet. Like everyone loves our BlackBerry. It's handheld. You don't need the internet on there. Like, what do you want to look on the internet on your phone? It's just for email and text.
That's like all people do.
He's like, and people want the tactile sensation of keyboards. Why would you want a touchscreen where you can't, like, you know, no look under the table text? And it was their inability to rethink as an organization that maybe the world's evolving. Maybe people want to look on the internet. Yeah. That's why they failed and went bankrupt, 10 years ago.
Yeah,
why
speaking
no one talks about BlackBerries anymore.
No, and they tried to revive themselves 10 years ago. It didn't work. I want to bring up, too, that once the atomic bomb went off, or the nuclear bomb, I should say, nuclear weapon was detonated on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, UFO sightings, claims of UFO sightings went through the roof. Ever since then, they've been like every week, oh, I saw a UFO. I saw a UFO. Oh my God, I got abducted by an alien, whatever. All that stuff started. And, you know, I kind of just thought like, well, if you made life, if you had a child, right, and they were in the backyard playing, and then a really loud fucking noise happened, you would go and look and see what was happening. Right? And I'm thinking all those things that are literally on the news now as like, you know, unidentified aerial phenomena is what they call them now. That's probably them, man. Just checking in. Oh, what the fuck are they doing? Oh, they developed vision? Fuck, they're really moving along. Yeah. They really are.
I've gone so back and forth on UFOs in my life. But
what's weird is that they're real, dude. Like
me and Lauren think we saw one. We were in Arizona.
What?
Yeah, we were in Scottsdale, and it's so rare whenever you travel, especially because we're from New York, to see the real night sky. Full of stars. And we were driving in Arizona, in Sedona, at 11 o'clock at night, and we looked up and we were like, holy shit, we need to pull over. Like, we've never seen the night sky like this in New York. So we literally pull over on the side of a highway, in the dirt, like desert. No sound, no cars in sight, and we lay on the hood, like in a movie,
Right.
and looking at the stars. It's amazing. And yeah, we just saw this flash of red light like dart across the sky.
Yeah.
Really quickly. Like
Yeah.
faster than anything I've ever seen.
Right.
And we
right.
both looked at each other. We're like, no.
What was that?
Yeah, we were like,
You
no.
know?
And
No,
we were
but,
like,
you
oh,
know.
probably, you know, some government spacecraft or something. And we're like, oh, we can't tell anyone about this. But now that UFO stories are coming out like all the time,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel as weird saying that. And honestly, we have no idea what the hell it was.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything move that fast.
I saw a pterodactyl.
What?
I swear to God. I don't care. This isn't, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true.
I gotta hear this.
I was a kid. Granted, I was a kid. I was probably like 9 or something.
What year did Jurassic Park come out?
Before that. So, okay, fair enough. But here's the deal. I don't care what anybody says. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't an eagle. It was a pterodactyl. It was the 4th of July or something. Maybe it was Memorial Day. It was a big weekend. People were I was 9. My parents were in the backyard with the adults. It was nighttime. And so it was time for the kids to be like, go to bed. We're going to stay out a little later, drink or whatever. And I walked out. I wanted an ice pop, I remember, out of the freezer.
Of course you did. It's Memorial Day week.
Right. So I go outside. Mom, can I have an ice pop? And I'm standing on the stoop and something caught my eye. And I looked up at the sky, Kyle. And you know how I live near the recreation center? Mm-hmm. So there's all these lights.
Yeah.
I saw a pterodactyl. I'll tell you more in detail. It was a gigantic flying wings, like this, and with no feathers, like skin, like nasty looking skin with like that pointy, like cone in the back of its head, and it was just flying, and it was not flying towards me but away, and it was up. It was pretty far away, but it was so odd because it was far enough away where it shouldn't look that big. You know what I mean? And I said, Mom, what is that? What is that? And she went, I don't know. I don't know get inside. And she told me to go inside.
Really?
And then
does your mom remember this?
She says no, but I'm telling you, one day she's going to be like, God forbid, on her deathbed or whatever, one day. And she's going to look at me and she's going to go, I saw it. I saw it. And then I'm telling you, because she just doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to deal with this because, you got to go to work and I can't.
All right.
Dude,
hey.
I'm telling
Maybe.
you. And then you go on Reddit. There's a whole group of people who have claimed to see pterodactyls, dude.
So.
And hey, if there was ever going to be a dinosaur to survive, don't you think it'd be the one that can fly out of the fucking way? I don't know.
Yeah,
Nuclear winters.
A lot more birds than dinosaurs.
Boy, I don't know. We're talking about it. I saw a pterodactyl. I don't know what else to say.
Right.
It could have been an eagle with some weird. What's that word? What's that thing where your hair falls out? That alopecia or whatever. Yeah. I don't know, but it was the craziest thing. And my mom saw it too. She says she didn't, but she saw it.
Okay. I don't know if I have any wild animal sightings like that.
Yeah. Well, hey, it could have been an alien. Could have been the Anunnaki.
Could have been a kite.
It wasn't a kite. It was alive.
Could have been an early drone.
It was the craziest thing. I'll never forget it, man. I can see it right now when I look up. Like I can see it. It's so crazy that happened to me because like everyone's got something, right?
Yeah,
everyone's got.
What's been tripping me out? Me and Lauren just rewatched Interstellar.
Yeah, incredible.
And that movie it was perfect timing. Think Again, and getting into like UFOs and everything, and watching that movie, and you just like, man, our understanding of like space and time and gravity and all that stuff is so.
What do you think about
limited.
Terrence Howard? And
on Rogan.
Yeah, but because you just said our understanding of all these things.
I've been saying this was like a reel or a meme that I saw on Instagram. I was like, he's either Terrence Howard, the actor, he's in Crash. He's in
he was in Big Mama's House.
Four Brothers, Big Mama's House. What he's definitely known for. I think he's in Iron Man.
Yeah, he was.
But great actor, Oscar nominee winning. But he was on Joe Rogan recently, and if you haven't listened, check it out. Get past the first 20 minutes. It's very wild, but. He is either having a schizophrenic break and he's a crazy madman, or he's one of the smartest men on the planet. I have no idea which one.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff he was talking about, and he has 97 patents, and he's very well versed on physics and chemistry and all these different fields of science and flying and gravity, math, and he was offering all these different potential perspectives on does gravity even exist, and are all these laws that we think are physical laws about the universe and the planet and elements and how they work and are structured, are they correct? And like I said, I don't know enough about any of these subjects to know if he's full of shit or if he's onto something truly groundbreaking. And it sounds ridiculous because it's coming from a freaking Hollywood actor. So obviously he's going to be called a loon.
Yeah.
Real scientists are probably all going to discredit him.
We got to watch him debate
crazy.
like a mathematician or something.
Yeah.
You know?
So
like,
I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff was really engaging and interesting, and I'm like just intrigued. I don't know enough.
yeah, it's just really thought provoking.
But
it's
to
just
me,
like,
it was
wow.
like, whoa, maybe he's right, and like maybe he's wrong about 99% of them, but maybe there's 1% thing that is truly
Well, I think what was
groundbreaking,
interesting
and I don't know.
to me, because he kind of like gave it he goes, he was on a podcast and he had these two guys. He was like, pull out your calculators on your phone. I want you to do something for me. He goes, do 2 times 2 or something like that. Or he said, hit the number 2 and then square it.
Yeah.
And then they squared it. And then he listed off the numbers. He was like, you should get, something, 0.9126827 4 times. He's like, he remembers this crazy. And then he says, divide that by 2. You should have 1.412716 whatever. And then he goes, now I want you, one of you guys, to times that by 2 again, or square it again, and I want you to cube that same number. And he goes, why do you both have the same number now? Like, they both had the same result. And he goes, that is a mathematical fallacy. Like, what? He goes, how could that possibly be true? That you just squared something and you just cubed it, and now we have the same number. He goes, this is what I'm talking about. The basis of our understanding of the universe is off. He goes, the concept of zero is completely insane. Zero? There is no such thing. There can never not be anything.
I thought that part, like, again, I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about, and could easily a mathematician or like Matt Damon from Good Will Hunting can easily come.
I feel like mathematicians are watching and going, I'm gonna fucking kill this guy.
But
you know,
I think some of the stuff that I found really interesting was, I mean, he said, which is obvious, he's like, there are no straight lines in nature. Yet why is so much of our scientific basis
90-degree angles
on straight lines and 90-degree angles, where nothing in nature is 90 degrees? So why would the universe exist and obey those laws of 90 degrees? His like philosophy on everything basically was that everything in the universe works in frequencies and spirals.
Yep.
So it's either waves or a circular spiral motion, and that's how we should be reading mathematics, and that's how we should be measuring physics, not in straight linear lines, but in curvatures. And that's part of what Einstein was talking about in the theory of relativity, where space and time can curve as you go longer distances, and that skews your.
Because the analogy is, it's not natural. Like, would you be attracted to a box-shaped woman? It's like, no, like you need the curves. There's something about that that's right.
Yeah.
Intuitively, intrinsically, like it's self-evidently. It's like, and he goes, what about like houses in hurricane cities? They keep falling down because they're fucking made of a right angle shit. He goes, if those houses were curved and swayed with the winds, like they would never fall over. We'd go right over them. And
that was one of the quotes where I was like,
oh,
I'm like, is he onto something or
no? I'm like, wait, he's right. Why
know.
are houses shaped like fucking rectangles and shit? Like the wind is gonna knock that shit right over. And he goes, because they keep rebuilding them, and they go, I don't know why these fucking things keep falling over when it gets windy.
That was kind of an interesting point.
He goes, I can't dumb it down any more than that. Like, the whole basis for and what do you need to be an architect? Like, you need to be at least learned in math, like not a mathematician necessarily, but like, that's all math, measurements and whatever, and like angles and geometry.
Like that, like he could have been wrong about everything, but I think he's onto something with that.
Yes.
Where I'm like, I can totally understand that. Like
very applicable.
If you're someone who understands nature and you're in nature enough and you watch plants grow over time, like you ever see those time lapse videos of like a plant growing and how a vine spirals and everything? You're like, yeah.
Dude, they hug each other and
nothing
shit.
grows. Like trees don't grow in straight lines.
No.
They don't have straight limbs. Like everything has a curvature to it.
Alan Watts said, have you ever seen a cloud that was misshapen?
Right.
You ever see a poorly designed wave? No, they always do the right thing.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about the ocean and how waves move and stuff like that. And that's how air and frequency and electricity and radiation, they all travel like waves. And that's how we should be measuring things in like peaks and valleys.
I think not really, again, I don't want to be like, this guy's changing the world, but like
he needs to debate someone.
Someone's got to have the balls to just like talk to him and like,
But again, I think that's where he's going to struggle naturally in a debate, is like he doesn't necessarily have any physical proof of it, but it's like
he has inventions though.
He does have 97 patents, like which I guess they've been approved. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so that says something.
Apparently, he came up with a patent for virtual reality that like IBM and all these
Yeah.
companies have
AI,
adopted and
right?
used.
Or-
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it was virtual reality, like
Yeah.
how to put a digital space in a physical space and like whatever.
So
I mean,
I don't
like,
know. Judge for yourself. Listen to Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan. He's either an idiot and full of
He
shit.
seems like the next guy, like we always talk about the guy
Yeah.
who's going to get his head cut off for being right about stuff. Dude, the greatest quote is from the last book I was reading, which fucking almost got me thrown off TikTok and Instagram. I don't know why they got so mad about it. Like, Jesus Christ. But like, the quote is, you know, a lot of the time they'll forgive you for being wrong, but they'll never forgive you for being right.
Wow.
Love that. And it's true historically.
Yeah.
Totally true historically.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Top 3 cities.
Oh, top 3 cities I've been
Yeah.
I've been to or want to go to. Probably
Let's
been to.
Let's do been to.
Been
Because
to.
how the hell else could you name them or rank them?
So the bulk of my traveling was done when I was 19, studying abroad in Europe. So I always filter it through the fact that I was 19 years old, and my experience at 19 will probably be different than how I experienced the city as a 30-year-old. But
Fair enough.
Number one for me, most beautiful place I've ever been was Interlaken, Switzerland. Interlaken.
Interlaken.
I mean,
Okay.
between lakes, and it is like the most picturesque, like computer screensaver, just lush green. The sky's like perfect blue. The lakes look like freaking Gatorade Glacier Freeze,
Right.
like teal blue. The beauty of that place was unbelievable. I did like cave diving there or something, cave jumping.
You jumped into a cave?
Paragliding.
You're out of your mind.
Yeah, that was
I don't
stupid.
know, man. Even when I was a kid, I would have never fucking even.
Yeah, it's one of the.
I don't care.
It's one of like the extreme sports capitals. So when you go there, it's a very expensive city, obviously.
What's that sport called where you jump into it? Isn't that called
Spelunking?
Spelunking. Yeah.
No, I was like in between 2 cliffs, and basically it wasn't bungee jumping, but it was where like you have a cord attached to you and you swing. So you dive, you free fall dive off a cliff, and then you just like once you get to the bottom, you kind of the rope catches you and you swing back and forth. But that was nuts. I was the first guy to go too.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
That was
So you were the test
that
dummy.
was wild. Yeah, 19. I was very stupid.
Interlaken.
Switzerland.
Was there any? Like, what was like the food? Like, or was it just a scenic
food
thing?
Sucked. It was all like American. You know, it's a very tiny city. So you go there for like 2 days. You do your extreme sports. You ski, you skydive, you paraglide, whatever, and you get out of there. That's
Okay, go on.
I'm gonna go with Lisbon, Portugal. Very cool city. It was one of those where like I didn't really have a reputation of it, right? Like it's not like a Paris or a London where you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I went there with no expectation, and it just blew me away. It was just like such a cool ancient city. Everything's like stone, castle, cobblestone roads, but it's like a city, you know? So like you go to restaurants and you go to bars and drink, and like it's a lively city, but it's in like a castle structure. So it was just like gorgeous. People were really cool. The food was amazing. Had like steaks. The wine was unbelievable. Met a ton of cool tourists there and Portuguese people. It just was a cool. It could have been just the fact that I had no expectations that made it so cool, but to me, it was just a very like natural. When you think of going to a European city, like that was the experience I was hoping to have.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Right. It seemed very culture-esque.
Yeah.
Rich in history.
I feel like I got to go with the U.S. city.
Yeah. Hit the U.S. while you're at it. Yeah.
Okay. No. You know what number 3 is? Maybe not a city, but just like a overall state is Maine. I think Maine's a
Really?
gorgeous state.
Yeah.
In the summer, obviously not in the winter, but like in the summer there. Been to Portland, Maine. You have great lobster, great seafood there. Really cool port city where you can go sailing and all that stuff. And then just like a 3-hour drive up is Acadia National Park, which is to me one of the most gorgeous national. I'm a huge fan of national parks. I'm trying to go to all of them. To me, that was one of my favorites because it obviously doesn't really have like mountains in the same way that a Yosemite or a Yellowstone does, and like the wildlife. But Acadia just view and like nature, feeling like you're really in nature. It's just one of the gorgeous places. So Maine, I could picture like I would love having a house, like a summer house in Maine.
Can you imagine?
It'd be really cool.
Yeah, I had that same feeling when I went to Vermont. Like I don't even know. I guess I would name this place. I wish I remembered the name of it, but I went to ski, and dude, it was one of those things where like I didn't even realize this was going to be the case, but like at the bottom of the ski mountain was this little village of like, bars.
Stratton?
I guess so, right?
Are you a big skier?
I am.
Really?
I mean, am I a big skier?
Because I was with you the first time you went.
No. Well, that was, pal. I don't like when both of my feet are on a thing.
Your butt was so black and blue.
Dude, I've never been in my life before or since, I've never actually been exhausted. Where I literally got back to the hotel and I actually just had no choice but to collapse into a bed.
So this was probably when we were
14, 15, something.
Me, Keith, and my brother. Me and my brother had grown up skiing, so we knew that, but we wanted to learn snowboarding. So we thought it'd be a good idea for the three of us to all take lessons together. And, me and Tommy both struggled. We fell.
But they got their snow feet.
But we figured it out towards the end, and Keith just never really got his bearings. I think even the instructor was like, I've never seen someone take this bad of a beating.
No, I've never been worse at something. It was like
we felt bad. We were like, shit, we should have just
No, and I'm such a trooper,
Especially because it was your first time on a ski mountain, right?
Yeah, I never skied before.
So we felt bad because we were like, if you're going to take someone out for their first time, you got to take them skiing.
No, but then that encouraged me to try skiing because I was like, obviously I can't do this. But then skiing was so easy. I'm like, wow, I got both my fucking legs to like figure this out.
Yeah.
And then I became very good at that. And now I like to ski. I mean, I every year I'm like, I want to go, but my wife doesn't ski. So it's like, when the fuck am I going to go skiing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
same here.
Like, it's like,
I just got to wait for like my
you
guy
and I
friends.
just have to go.
Yeah.
Or they come and they drink at the fucking lodge and hang out and we go skiing.
I'm down.
But me too. Okay, fine. Whatever city that was, it was great. I don't even remember the name of it. But like, here's the other thing. When I asked this, I'd never been to Europe. So like, I got to go full US here.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's all situational too. I think I got to say, even though it's like maybe cliche, I just really like Philadelphia.
Really?
I really liked Philadelphia. I think Market Street and the history and all that shit in the city, those cities, it's like a tie between Boston and Philly for there. Like if I'm just going to, I might even lump them into the same thing in that there's just all of that rich American history in there. Like, dude, I remember walking into that fucking room where it was Centennial Hall. Is that what it is? Where the Liberty Bell is and shit? Now it's the Centennial Bell. But learned that from National Treasure. Everyone knows that movie. You walk in there, and I'm walking in the room, and the tour guide's going, "This is where they signed the Declaration of Independence." And I'm like, "Wow, that's fucking awesome." And then she goes, "That's George Washington's chair. Like that's his actual chair that he sat in." And I raised my hand. I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "That's his chair." I'm like, "That's his chair. That's the chair." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, well, that's unfucking believable that's his chair. No one seemed to give a shit.
Well, it's probably just a chair they pulled from like the
exactly
garage.
Right, and it looked a little thrownish, a little gold on it to get back to it.
They charred it with a match.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I was like, that can't be. It's in pristine condition, and you can't go back there and touch it and shit. But I loved seeing. I saw his fucking like where he used to live, shit like that.
Yeah,
I love that stuff, but also. I like Philadelphians. Like they're so.
Really? I feel like you're a rare person for saying that.
No, that's what I mean. Like they're my kind of person. They don't give a fuck.
Because you know what? I mean, they're known for being like the worst.
Yeah, they're horrible people. No, they are. But that's only if you like are a football guy and you hate the Eagles. Like if you walk, I walked into a bar and I was like, where do I get the Philly cheesesteak? Like where do I really get the one that you guys get? And they told me to go to this place. Oh God, what the hell was it? I forgot. But it's on Market Street. They're like, don't go to Tony's, don't go to John's, whatever the fuck. No, that's all bullshit. Go to this place. And I went, and these guys, and when I came in, they were giving me shit. They're like, look at this fucking asshole from fucking New York trying to do the Philly thing. But like, it was all bullshit. You know, they were busting my balls, and I love that.
Yeah.
And they're definitely a kind of person, a Philadelphian, but. The one that they sent me to, the Philly cheesesteak, they put cream cheese on it. Can you imagine?
Really?
Delicious, Kyle.
Wow.
You wouldn't even believe it. You go, oh, they go, I know, but just get it. I went back. One time I went skiing in Pennsylvania. I drove 50 minutes to Philly to get that fucking sandwich again.
Damn.
At night.
And you don't know the name of it?
No.
Of course.
It's called,
I guess that's good. You don't want to be
I know where
I
it
don't
is.
want everyone to know about it. But.
Yeah, no, fuck all you. That's my place. No, but like it's a really good place. Fine there, and I'd also say, and you would speak to this. Maybe you would disagree, but I liked Baltimore a lot.
Oh God,
I really did.
I can't disagree with you more.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I played a show there with my band when I was in the band.
Because you were in the Inner Harbor.
That's what I'm saying.
The Inner Harbor.
I was in this one particular
and Baltimore
part of
are
it.
two different
Dude,
places.
when we were driving there, I was driving past the wire. Like the literal, wow, holy shit. I can't believe how much of a shithole this place is.
That was basically where my college was.
Right.
In the
Wire.
was
it?
Yeah.
So
not literally, but
I can't believe you survived. Like just being as white as you are and like.
I remember one time, and this is a quick story, but we lived in an off-campus house in kind of the hood. Not like bad, enough where college kids could live there. But it was, low income, I'd say. And one day I'm coming back home from class. It's like 3 p.m. on like a Tuesday. And I'm walking up my front steps into the house, like about to put my key in. And I hear rustling in like the yard next to me. Like, the leaves like crackling. And I look over and there is a black guy with a TV.
Holy shit.
Just running through the side of my yard. And I look at him. He looks at me. I realize it's not my TV. We make eye contact, and I just turn and go back in my door.
Yeah.
And he just carries on.
Mind your business.
I was like, well, it's not my TV.
Mind your business,
Then
dude.
sure enough, a week later, our TV got stolen.
I was like, you know what? That guy's cool. He won't do nothing.
Our TV was in... TV got stolen. You could see the fingerprints on our window behind the TV.
Oh, man. You're kidding. You really were in the fucking hood, dude.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were
what an experience. But you see, that to me gives a city like character. Yeah.
Theft.
There's people there willing to fucking do it.
Okay.
Do some shit, man.
Say that.
I mean, listen, I just think that it's kind of fun.
But
a city's fun.
I will
say
like that. As much as I loathe Baltimore, I love people from Baltimore. That's a different story. People from Baltimore, cool. Like them.
But the
Baltimore's a
shithole part of it.
It's a shithole. They have benches that ironically say America's best city.
That's not true. Because listen,
it's called Charm City, and I will say the Inner Harbor is very charming. You go to Camden Yards where the Orioles play. There's Power Plant, really cool collection of bars there. There's some cool stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I think I was in this place. I played a venue. It was it was so cool with just a brick wall venue, and like right around the corner was this bustling, awesome like a rooftop restaurant that we all got dinner at after the show. And like it was just one of those things. I'm like, this is a great city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's all this shithole aspect to it too, with the crime and the wire and the whole thing. But then there's like a music scene. Like it was a death metal show, and there were a lot of people there. Like it was like I was like, this is a fun city. This is and then you were on the water. What's the name of that area?
The Inner Harbor.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we were there, and the food was fantastic, and like I was like, I get it. Like Baltimore seems like a place I'd go again.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm probably wrong.
There's definitely some cool spots, but specifically where my college was, we did not see. And we were going to college bars that they're letting in underage people. Also,
no, go ahead.
Forgot this story. Saw a guy get stabbed at a bar, just right in front of me, like as far as you are from me.
You just got stabbed.
Me and my roommate Kyle were
Kyle and Kyle
were leaning on a bar. We're at this bar called Bourbon Street. Halloween, my freshman year. It's like a 3-story bar. Attracted a huge different range of crowds, diverse, we'll say. And we are leaning against the bar. We're like on the verge of blackout. It's Halloween, so we're dressed. I think we were dressed up as either like a boy band or like an 80s hair metal band. I don't remember.
Yeah,
but we are
seagulls or something.
We're 3 sheets to the wind, leaning against the bar, just putting out the vibe, And it's starting to get really crowded. Like, when a bar gets like uncomfortably crowded.
You gotta get out of here.
Yeah. And we also realized how drunk we were. And we were like, we don't need another drink. And we see an altercation between two fellas. And in like slow motion, one guy just stabs the other guy. And commotion ensues around them.
Shit.
And it's like in a movie where like a bomb goes off, and you hear that like just eerie sound. And me and my roommate just look at each other. Like no reaction, no like horror on our face, no fear. We're just like, we should get out of here.
Yeah. Let's go.
And just slowly made our way to the exit. Like beat the crowd.
Excuse me.
The crowd. Got in a taxi quick. And as we're pulling away, just see everyone rushing out. And then that bar That bar closed shortly after, thankfully. So, yeah, we definitely saw the remnants of that, the city's underage bar.
Yeah. Look, I've been to a bunch of other ones, by the way. Like, I've been to Montreal, I've been to Miami. I've been like, it's just the thing is, I feel like it's so why you're there.
Just talking to my coworker who's from London, and a really cool guy, and he's lived everywhere in the U.S. since. So he's lived in New York, Boston, Atlanta, Denver, L.A., like all over the place. And we were in Dallas for this trip. And he rides his motorcycle all across the country. And he's the type of guy that like, goes into the dive bars and like gets to know people and stuff.
Sure.
So he had a very unique experience of his perspective on the U.S. And he was explaining to me how like, he goes, you guys don't realize how crazy it is that you have like this big of a country with this many different types of people and cultures.
Accents.
And you have
everything.
He goes, it's different state by state, not just in the cultures, but the laws. He's like coming from the UK. Yes, it's a lot less people, but as you drive from different areas, we all live under the same umbrella of laws.
Right.
So like we get each other, but like if you're going from New York to Alabama, like the laws are totally different. Yeah. Like carrying a gun and like all these different things.
That's
and like,
actually really
it's different,
true.
Different belief systems, but they're shored in their beliefs by their laws. So like Alabama's laws and beliefs are tied hand in hand, and a lot of New Yorkers' laws and beliefs are tied hand in hand, but they're not this. We're from the same country, but we have these different set of rules state by state. And he's like, it's so weird. He's like, in Alabama, he's like, you can literally go into a Walmart and I can buy a handgun like right now, but fireworks are illegal. And like he's like, and like it's just these crazy.
Well, it's even like I go to Jersey a lot because of my family, and like I go every time. I'm like, oh, I gotta pick up a 6-pack, and I go, oh, right, I can't go to a 7-Eleven because they just don't sell beer there.
That's
for
what we were talking
fucking
about.
Reason.
Like,
and it's like
how in New England you can't buy beer on.
And then you
Sunday.
go to Boston, and I remember going when I was in Boston. I love Boston. I really, really, really love Boston a lot. I want to go back soon. But I went in. I was like, oh, it's late. I want to get a 6-pack. Nothing's open. So I went into a bar and I was like, hey, can you guys recommend like a place that might be open to buy beer? And they were like, just buy it here. I'm like, what do you mean? I know I want to leave with it. They're like, yeah, you can leave with it.
Where?
In Boston.
At what?
At a bar.
Oh, really?
You can go into a bar in Boston, buy a 6-pack of their beers and leave with it.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm like, you're really? And they were like, yeah, it's just a weird law we have here. It's totally okay.
But I think you can't buy beer on a Sunday in New England.
Exactly.
Which is like,
so you're like, the guy's completely right, your coworker. Yeah. Like, it's a weird country.
He had a real interesting perspective, and I was asking him what his favorite cities are, and he was like, LA sucks. It's just like the worst.
Fuck that place.
He's like, worst. There's like people, he's like, it's not that the people are like mean or whatever. He's like, they're just boring.
By the way, best zoo I've ever been in my life.
I never went to the zoo there.
The Philadelphia Zoo is sick, okay? Tigers, gorillas, everything. And dude, I was there during feeding time for a tiger. Bro, have you ever looked at a tiger in the fucking eye?
Yeah.
One time, well, this was the time, they were hungry. It was time to eat. And this tiger was like pacing because he was like hungry and he was getting upset. Dude, this motherfucker looked right at me and he walked towards me. And you know, I backed up. Like, I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Because instinctually, like, that's like a deeply rooted, like,
yeah, their eyes are crazy.
Dude, his eye, they look at you with this, like, it's not personal. Yeah. It's not like I don't like you. It's just that if this glass wasn't here, you're finished. You understand me, right? Like, it's so.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
the threat in their eyes.
I looked away. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I was like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
And then, dude, they threw like it was like a cartoon. They threw like the actual steak, raw steak, and bro, the alphas were first, and they were bashing off all the young kids. Fuck yeah, man! Philadelphia's fun.
Yeah. Have you listened? I guess we'd end it with this segment that we've done the last few episodes about a book, a podcast, and a song or whatever. But have you listened to Paul Rizzoli, the guy who he's a New Yorker? He's been on Rogan. He's been on Lex Friedman twice, I think. He's a New Yorker who moved down to the Amazon jungle to just like live there and like be like a scientist and like conserve the jungle. And he is magnificent to listen to. He's just so obsessed with it. But he was talking about how a lot of the animals down there that look really scary, like the panthers and the jaguars and stuff. He was like, I've lived amongst these beasts in the jungle long enough that I've developed a sort of interesting relationship with them. And he's like, these animals don't want to harm you. He goes,
No, it's
obviously,
not about that.
He's like, if you present a threat, they will, if they experience or if they think that you're a threat, if you're doing something to provoke them or that threatens their kids or their food, yes, they will attack you. But as long as you keep your distance and you respect the habitat that they live in, and you kind of have like this mutual like head nod agreement with each other.
Really cool.
It's like, hey, you don't bother me, I won't bother you. Like, we're cool. It's like, if you help me get food, like we're even cooler.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's like the worst part of living in the jungle is the small animals, the mosquitoes, like the bugs.
Yeah,
he's like, everything else, the big ones, he's like, I'm less afraid of them than I am of like mosquitoes and like little critters. Yeah. All right. So do you have a book, a podcast, or a show? It doesn't have to be all three, but if you have one to recommend.
Hey, can I recommend a movie?
Go for it.
There's a movie with Robert Pattinson that's not very popular called Good Time. And it's about like Long Island. Kind of. Yeah. Or New Jersey. I forget I think it's Long Island. No, it's Long Island. It's Long Island. It's Long Island. He plays a piece of shit from Long Island. We all know him, dude. We all know these guys. Like these druggy kind of like just trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel to get some cash together for the weekend kind of piece of shit guy. And it's Long Island, but it's like the Queens part, you know?
How's his accent?
Great.
Really?
That's what I mean, is like his accent's perfect. And the movie is it's very much so like Uncut Gems. In that it's like, oh God, is he gonna make it? Oh my God, he's in so much fucking trouble. I can't believe he just did what he just did. What an asshole. But then, you know, if you like movies like that where it's just about a real guy trying to make it by for this one last fucking day, just day by day life.
Oh, sounds
dude,
stressful.
It's really good. It's called Good Time.
Wow.
With Robert Pattinson.
I always find it really impressive when a British person can do like a
He's a
good
man
US
of many
accent.
accents.
Yeah.
He does them all, man. He does Southern accents.
To me, like Margot Robbie's Queen's accent in Wolf of Wall Street, that was like the best.
That was incredible.
The best foreign accent I've seen.
She must have watched My Cousin Vinny or something like 100 times to get that
well,
down.
apparently her like dialect coach or whatever told her to talk like she just got her nails done and she was drying them off. Just to talk like that.
Really?
And apparently that brings out this accent. And
Oh,
like,
just,
and, you know,
right. This dainty kind of like, you know, and get away from me. My fucking
don't
nails.
Touch my nails. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to do a movie this time.
Okay.
Dude, Good Time. Robert Pattinson. Incredible movie.
I'm going to recommend a band who I'm representing right now, which is Amble.
Amble
is a Irish folk trio. It's my brother-in-law's cousin is the lead singer.
Oh, okay.
We actually found, Lauren was like putting a reel on one of her Instagrams and like this song by them came up. She was like, oh, I really like this song. She's like, why do I feel like I've heard of Amble before? And sure enough, it was our brother-in-law's cousin who he told us about this band a while back.
They're in Ireland right now?
Yeah, they're touring all over Ireland. But very good band. They have a few good songs, but check out Amble on Spotify.
Amble. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
I love that shit. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right.
We got work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Time for bed.
Back to the week.
Yeah.
All
right, brother. It was a great app.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.